Hello, I'm Nick Trott and I'm the editor of Evo magazine, and today I have with me Ryan, who is the assistant editor of denofgeek.com. Now Ryan, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, we're here today to talk about cars, chases, crossing the line, movies and more cars.
Okay, so it's the Fast and Furious franchise now, Tokyo Drift. Now, it's kind of, it's got a comic book cartoon vibe, but there's a lot to like about it from a car guy's perspective. But also there's some decent cinematography in it as well. So the car chase scene, tell us what's happened in the movie up until that point.
This film introduces a new lead character called Sean, who's played by Lucas Black.
Yep.
And despite the fact that he looks about sort of 35, he's a high school kid who's got in trouble for street racing.
Yep.
And nearly killed himself in a race. So he's sent to live with his disciplinarian father in Tokyo, which is a bit like sending a chocolate addict to Belgium, you'd think, because he ends up in the drifting scene.
Yeah.
And also gets on the wrong side of the Yakuza.
Yeah.
And that all leads up to this clip that we've chosen, which is a downhill race at the end of the film between him and a racing champion called DK, or Drift King.
Yeah. Interesting cars they've chosen here, because Drift King is in a typical Japanese drift car, you know, Nissan 350Z with all the body kit, highly tuned engine. And our hero is in a Mustang.
He's in a Mustang. I think apparently that there's somebody mentions that they've dropped in a Nissan Skyline engine. I think somebody says.
Right, interesting stuff. Well, I can understand that. The V8 Mustang is quite a heavy old lump. Put a smaller six-cylinder turbo in it, and you get a little bit more response. So interesting again from a driver's kind of perspective. Actually getting a car drifting through hairpins not that difficult. Drifting downhill through hairpins is actually more difficult than drifting uphill, because there's momentum. So once the tail starts to swing out, you've lost traction and the car's kind of losing grip. And I think the film does a pretty good job of actually showing the drifting, the transitions from side to side. I mean, suspending all other, kind of reality. It's actually pretty well done. What about from a kind of a cinematography point?
Well, it's interesting because it's Justin Lin took over the franchise at this point, and he's directed all of them since. The sixth one being his last. I think you can kind of sense his presence immediately, because the first two films, they're both different directors, but they had a similar approach. There's lots of CG. Yeah. Almost the use of the cars was almost like Star Wars. The kind of the sense of acceleration. It was very video game. Yeah. Whereas this one is much more. It's clearly still CG in it, but there is more of a sense of momentum and physics. And as you say, you feel the danger of them going down these hills. Yeah. And also, they did use real drift stunt drivers, that were good at drifting. So.
Yeah, Riss and Rod Millen, they're very famous in the US. Rally drivers, stunt drivers, they're pretty much the best in the business. I think they also did some stuff in the Dukes of Hazzard remake as well. But yeah, I kind of like, again, from a petrol head's kind of perspective, I like the way that there's not too many pulled in shots, so when they're drifting between the corners, you can see the car move across the frame, which is really nice. You see the kind of the arc that the car's kind of scribing through the corner, so that's kind of nicely done. And also the sound effect is quite good. The engine, it's not kind of over processed or whatever. The sound of the 350 Nissan, highly tuned 350 Nissan, that's kind of what it sounds like as well. So I can't believe I'm saying it really, but there is an authentic vibe to this scene.
The franchise kind of hit a sweet spot at this point, because after this it kind of went all crazy again.
Yeah.
But also it's the race itself is kind of in two halves, because there's the kind of relatively tidy drifting, and then there's the point where the aggression kicks in, and DK starts battering the other car. You could say that's the point where he starts crossing the moral boundary, which proves to be his undoing in the end, because he messes up one of his Rams and ends up flying off a hill.
Off the hill, yeah. It's fascinating really, but again, because from our side, from the Evo point of view, the sport of drifting is very much a kind of it's more like theatre. It's not racing. It's not about getting from A to B in the shortest possible time. It's about display. So and when you see drift events, you know, guys are kind of, they're scored. You know, there's a kind of a scorecard. And there are moments where you can see that the director's really enjoying showing the kind of the driving skill, but then it's like you say, there has to be a point where he goes, oh yeah, hang on, this is a proper car chase. He's a goodie, he's a baddie. Something's got to happen.
I hate this guy.
Yeah, that's right. And then suddenly they make contact. You get, you know, in the real sport of drifting, you know, you get punished if there's too much contact and things like that. But that's where it all kind of unravels really. And I'm mighty surprised that a Mustang with a GTR engine comes out on top.
There you go. It's the magic of Hollywood.
Yeah, the magic of Hollywood. Yeah, but surprisingly good chase, good fun, you know. And let's see what Fast and Furious 27.
Yes, Fast and Furious 7, which I'm hoping will be a slasher movie.
But then there'll be 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yeah, exactly.
So.